Hey, how's everybody doing? I hadn't been doing too well the past couple of days. My my brain wanders a lot, you know, because I got a lot of time on my hands sitting down in this house that's like a prison to me. And as the weeks go by, my nerves are starting to rejuvenate, yes, but I don't understand why they're coming back alive and they're starting to hurt more and more. I don't understand that. You know, I tried the method of getting up on it and moving around, and it just seems that it doesn't do no good either way. Hot compresses, cold compresses. I don't understand it, but on my last visit to the hospital, I was sitting down to make the appointment because I had to go down there in person to make the appointment, because doing it by phone is really time consuming, and I'm tired of waiting every 3 months or waiting 3 weeks or 4 weeks for them to finally call me, when I could just go down there in person and get it done and taken care of in one day. And that's what I've found. But I seen this guy at the podiatrist. He was on crutches. He had just gotten out of his surgery. I asked him how his, I communicated with the other patients in there, that were sitting there waiting for the appointments as well. And one of them was just out of his surgery, still had his stitches in his leg. I asked him how his ability to walk was, and he says, it's getting pretty good. I sure be glad whenever my doctor tells me I can let go of the crutches. And it was just one crutch. I walked on crutches for a heck of a lot longer. I even have a knee walker. And I asked myself, well, I'm 2 years out of this surgery, and I'm still continuing to use the knee walker and continuing to, every time I take a step. And I asked one of the other patients that was at the appointment, I said, well, how does it feel when you take a step? And they said, well, it's kind of sore. And I go, kind of sore or really sore? And he goes, no, it's kind of sore, but it's moving along. And from my understanding from talking to the other patients in there, they're healing a lot quicker than I am. And I don't understand a lot of things. I don't understand why I can't have the ability to flip my foot. I don't understand why it's taking so long for me to heal, and it scares me. It depresses me. It upsets me. I don't understand why these things are happening so fast for other patients, but in my situation, how come I'm still sitting here 2 years later, way far behind schedule? I mean, there was even one guy that was, he walked to the water fountain, and he still had staples in the top of his knee. And I asked him, I showed him the scar on my knee and how it was healed, and he says, wow, you're still here? He says, they're fixing to take my staples out, and I'm fixing to go to physical therapy, and I'm fixing to start walking on my own without crutches or anything. And I go, man, it was a whole year before I could begin to walk without the knee walker, And as the months go by, and my foot starts becoming, the nerves start coming alive again, because I got this hole. Well, I've already showed everybody on there. I got this hole in the back of my leg, and I guess that's the key thing, that my nerves have been severed, and the nerves are they're gone. I can't flip my foot, and the more and more as time goes by, the more and more extensive pain that I start to feel. I mean, fresh out of surgery, I wasn't hurting this bad. Well, I'm not going to say fresh out of surgery, because my foot was swelled up the size of a club. But now, 2 years later, my nerves are starting to rejuvenate, and then they're starting to hurt, and it just, I it's a really depressing thing that I'm seeing other patients in there that are 3 months out of surgery. You know, there was just a staircase of patients in there, and I'm realizing now that I'm in for a big one, and I can't understand why. I guess I can understand why that they didn't have their bone poking out of the back of their leg, all of them in there and they received the same surgery as I do. They took a wire. The doctor told me they took a wire. They took a real tiny drill bit, and they drilled it through the center of my bone on my leg. I don't know what the main big bone down there on your shin is called, that one that goes from your ankle to your kneecap. I don't know what it's called or anything, because I'm not a doctor, but my doctor told me they take a real tiny little bitty tiny wheel, and it spins, and it's a wire that's ran through your bone. I don't know how the heck they got that wire in the center of my bone, but it's very completely perfect center on the x-rays. And then they run this wheel in there, and it spins, and it's sharp. It's a little sharp wheel, and it spins, and it carves the inside of your bone out. And then they take that titanium pole, and they place it in there, and then they shove your bones, both sides of your bones, back together, and then screw it. And in my case, the bone is healed completely. The podiatrist told me that you're not supposed to still be in pain. You need to go back to pain management. You know, and that was a year ago. And now that I've went back to pain management and dealt with them, did the runaround with them, and tried to see if I could apply for the spinal stimulator, or shots in my back, or laser procedures, or anything else. I didn't understand why my back, you know, because I've always dealt with back pain constantly my whole life, but I didn't understand, and I did ask him, and I'm going to ask him again. You know, I asked my pain management doctor, well, why is that screw that they put in my back, it's hurt all these years, but now it's starting to hurt even worse than it is, you know, since my motorcycle accident? Why is it starting to hurt more? They couldn't answer the question. They said they don't know. And that's why I'm going to another back specialist now. But she did say what might be the thing is because you're not walking straight. You're walking with your foot tilted to the side, and you're dragging your foot beside you. You have to pick it up high enough, but walking with your knee cocked, with your leg cocked to the side, which is a fatigue position, you know, for you to be walking like that. So that's causing your back to be twisted in an unregular form of walking. She says that could be the problem of why your back's starting to all of a sudden feel like fire back there, you know. And the bottom of my foot it feels like fire now, and I'm starting to get more and more ticked off at technology, man. They should have just left the foot alone, man. If it's broke completely in half and bones poking out of the skin, you know, I think that they thought that they could save my foot using technology, but they didn't stop and think about where the bone poked out the back of the leg and how it was severed in all my nerves and stuff, and how it could just be a useless limb there that's non-functional. And as far as the nerves goes and everything else, they're disturbed, they're severed, you know. And I really wished and pray to God that they would just take it off, but the doctors tell me that we can't amputate now. That's not a procedure that's approved. If we've already fixed your foot and it's healed completely, your bones are completely healed. If it's nerves that's the problem, then we got to find some way to fix the nerve issue. And I'm scared. I'm scared that there's not a procedure out there that's going to kill the nerves to the bottom of my foot, or that I can't afford it, the procedure, you know, like the spinal stimulator. I wasn't approved because it was a $30,000 procedure, and that's just not something they hand out, you know. If you don't have the money to fix it, then we're not going to do it. And that was another mistake. I signed off on my my lawyer that I got, Dudley DeBosier. They were the kind of lawyers that it's a speedy trial type of thing, or if it's a speedy process. Hey, we're going to go in there and get you $100,000. We're going to take our cut out of it, and then we're going to pay your medical bills, and you're going to be left over with the rest. And in normal circumstances, this is what it's worth. Well, you know, in normal circumstances, yeah, I would have been just fine. But this, now I found out later that seeing as how I've already signed off on the accident, I can't get no more money from the insurance company to finish fixing my foot, because, you know, doctors were not I don't know. I guess they just didn't foresee the future. You know, no one can foresee the future on the way a person heals. And that's one advice that I give to people out there. Don't sign off on your case until, you know, even if you can't work and you're going to be out on the streets or whatever else, you know, you need to find a relative or somebody to go to, or don't sign off like I did and be a complete fool early. Make sure you're completely healed, that you can walk without no pain or nothing before you sign off on them papers, because you're cutting yourself short in the long run. You know, instead of suffering for a couple of 2-3 years, now I'm going to have to suffer for the rest of my life because I don't have the money to give myself the upgraded procedures that are available to technology and to fix my foot without all these problems that I'm having now. I signed off too early on the process, man, and I regret that. And another thing is, if I would have known then what I know now, I would have told them just to leave the foot completely off, man. Just amputate it, man. Why are you trying to save something that's so far gone past fixing? Yeah, you can fix the bones, but the nerves, you can't fix those. You know, I don't think there's any way they can fix those nerves. They told me they would rejuvenate or reroute, but they're rerouting, and so far the more and more they rejuvenate, and as weeks go by, the more and more pain I'm starting to have to go through, and the more and more I'm realizing that, you know, I can't go out in the cold and during the winter time. I had to find that on my own. The doctors didn't tell me that. I had to go online and read about numbness on the bottom of the foot. It's called neuropathy, and how nerves are ran from down the back of your leg and around back of your shin, on the other side of your shin, and then down around your heel, and then off into your big part and off into your toes. You know, all those nerves are running down the back of your leg, and that's where the breach of my skin was there. And I had to find out that you can't put your leg in the cold if that's the case. If you have neuropathy on the bottom of your foot, you have to keep it warm. You can't keep it in the cold. Otherwise you'll damage your foot even worse than it is, because you can't feel cold. You can't feel hot. You know, you can't feel nothing but numbness. And so I've had to find out a lot of things online on my own without the doctors even telling me to beware of this and beware of that and don't do this and don't do that. I've had to get online and find out the things that I could and couldn't do, you know, because of experiencing the first winter after my surgery. You know, I was hurt during the middle of the winter. I kept it warm, I kept it inside, and then when the second winter hit, between that time, right before the second winter hit, I tried to go over here and try to go to get a job to do whatever, or do what I could, and in the middle of working, I found out that because I got online and looked, you know, you can't take a foot that has neuropathy out in the cold and don't do it. So I had to be cut short on that job. You know, I had to call in anytime the temperature was below, I'm saying 40 degrees. I couldn't work. You know, it tells you that on the internet. You need to keep it warm, you know, and so unless it was 50 degrees or above, you know, I didn't go to work. You know what I'm saying? And so therefore that job played out, you know, because that and the boss man that I had on that first job that I worked on after the surgery and everything, and that's what alarmed me to the fact of maybe I need to go apply for disability, because if I can't work and I can't stay up on my foot 8 hours, then I'm scared that I'm not going to be able to work. And now that the summers came and my nerves are starting to rejuvenate on the second year coming back, it's just a scary thing of everything that I'm going through. I'm seeing the progress, and I'm seeing other patients out there that have been more fortunate than me and not have the extensive injuries that I've had. I've been told online that some people have had their legs spun around 360 and they deal with pain and they go to work anyway. But you know, I don't know. I guess there's no really true way to foretell the future on an injury. You know, there's no way doctors can foresee the future on each and every individual. There's always going to be surprises, or not always, but in some cases the doctors are going to get surprised and be scratching their head and trying to figure it out, you know. And that's what they're doing, is they're sending me around to all these different doctors and stuff because they can't figure out why the heck I'm still hurting, and they're not giving me no clear answers, and I'm having to find out a lot of things on my own. And that's what I've been down in the dumps here lately. It's tough on me, to stay in here in this house. It's like being in jail. You know, it's like being locked up in jail, because I can't, there's only a certain, you know, I can't go nowheres. I can't do nothing. You know what I'm saying? I've let everybody down. I wanted to go over at my buddy Noe's house and try to start doing body work. I went over to somebody else's place, tried doing body work over there, and I had to get off my foot every, you know, I wore a boot for a while thinking that's what was going to make me walk straight. You know, I kept that boot on because that boot, I could kind of like rock with it. I would ride on top of that boot, but at the end of the day, man, my foot would just be so much throb and pain that I realized that, you know, maybe I need to take it out of the boot and try to walk without it. And I've did that, and I've walked with about 4 months out of this boot, when I was supposed to be out of that boot no more than 2-3 months is what the doctor told me. No, you don't need to wear that boot, but if it's more comfortable for you to wear it, so be it, wear it. But I've come to realize that the boot, you know, that boot that they give me, it doesn't help. And now I'm scared that you know, even though they're going to give me another brace on my leg that'll help me flip my foot, that's still not going to take the pain away every time I put pressure on my foot. You know what I'm saying? I'm scared to death here. I'm crying. I'm not crying now because I don't want to get on here in camera and cry. You know, I'm supposed to be the kind of person over here that stays strong, you know, and tries to cheer people up, and no one wants to see somebody upset and crying on the camera. It's called, you know, all my life I've always gotten mad at people for crying, or I would look at another guy crying and I would go, man, that dude needs to get a grip. Something's wrong with him, because I was raised in a family where my father told me, man, if you cry, that's weak. You're being weak, and you don't need to show weakness in front of other people like that. You're supposed to be a man. And sometimes I would have a hard time comforting my wife if she was crying and upset. I would try to tell her, baby, you need to quit being such a sourpuss, man, here, and quit crying, because crying, all it does is waste time. It just wastes time. It's waste of energy. It's what I've been taught my whole life. And now that I'm going through this injury that I'm going through, and I'm starting to find myself tear up and just out of the blue, and having to be confined to an area that's just my front yard or my backyard, or I'm limited on my abilities. I can still do some of the things that I've always could have did, but I can't do it a full 8 hours now, and it's scary. It makes me upset because I watch my wife go to work, and she has to do this all alone. You know what I'm saying? I've always been the kind of guy that if I wanted something bad enough, I could go out there and find a second job and work hard for it and go find it and buy it, whatever it was that I wanted. The sky was the limits with me. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm going through all this crap with my leg, and it's not a fun situation to be in. I don't want to be the kind of person that quits and gives up and accepts defeat. You know, I've always been against pain pills, because when I've gotten my back surgery, man, I was on pain pills, and they had me on the Duragesic patch. I couldn't even take the Lortabs that they gave me. It was making my stomach so sick at times, man. When my back surgery happened, it would make my stomach hurt worse than the back pain, you know, because it would just tear my stomach up. You know, I couldn't do it, so they gave me Duragesic patch, and that helped me out, and they kept me on that for about 3 to 4 to 6 months, and then finally they told me no more. I couldn't have those, and I went through some serious withdrawals, sweating, getting sick, puking, curled up in a ball for a long time, man. It's a good thing I saved all my patches and put them in a coffee can, because when they didn't give me no more, it looked like I had duct tape wrapped around my torso here, man, that held on patches. You know, duct tape, I took used patches and weaned myself off that away. They even try to do a step down on the patches, you know, instead of 100 milligram Duragesic down to, because that's what I was at, 100 milligram Duragesic down to 75 milligram Duragesic, and then when they weaned me off, you know, they stepped me all the way down to a 25 milligram patch. But so I felt the pull of how medication can be addictive, and how your body can depend on it, you know. And so I've always tried to, you know, go into the doctor and tell him I appreciate you trying to find different ways for me to exist without taking pain pills. But then again, on the other hand, you know, I've talking to other people, and I talked to my next door neighbor that's on disability, and he tells me that, and mechanic, an ex-mechanic where I used to work, he would come up there and visit me and look at my foot, and he says, man, he says, there's no way I could even get out of bed without starting to take my medicine. I'm saying, really? He goes, yeah. He says, you know, I have my good days and bad days, but when you're taking pain pills, you got to stay on them consistently. You have to take them every day at the same time, every day. 4 pills a day is what one of them took. 4 pills a day is what my neighbor takes, and they tell me that they can't function without them, man. They're stuck on them. And so I've tried to take the road with my doctors and tell them, no, that's not what I really want. And they said, well, we're not really going to give them to you unless it's absolutely necessary. Well, I'm starting to think that, am I just going to be a pill head now? Am I going to be somebody that's that has to live on these pills to walk down the road, or to walk inside of a shopping mall, or to do things, or am I just going to have to find another way of life find some way to put this foot off the ground? I did find one thing that I'm going to try, and it's called an iWalk. If you'll look it up online, just put in there iWalk. And what it is, it's a crutch that fits on your knee, and it kicks back your leg like this. Instead of going straight up and down, it kicks it backwards like this, and then there's a crutch taking the place of your foot. And I would think that would be an option that I'm going to try. Or see, I'm just going to wait until see what my podiatrist, or when they fit me for that brace, see what options that they're going to do first. But the iWalk is only like $125, and it keeps your foot completely off the ground, and it makes it to where you're mobile. The only problem is you can't get in a car with it because your legs kick backwards. You know, you're standing straight up and down facing this way, and your legs, it's doing like a chick, she curtsies when a man kisses her, that leg comes up. Well, if that leg is stuck like that, it's always going to get in the way of hitting things behind it, you know. That's the only thing that I'd have to really watch and organize my house to where I could turn around without clearing the coffee table. There can't be nothing on the coffee table if I'm gonna have my legs spun out like that, you know, behind me. But I just wanted to let y'all know what I'm going through and what my thoughts are, and how nerve-wracking my situation is, and I probably, the microphone's probably going off and on the sound, but I'm sorry, my hands are getting tired back and forth holding it. But that's the footage for the day, and that's what I'm going through. And I'm sorry if somebody's been wondering and worried about me and why I hadn't made a video. There's a couple of people that's tagged me on this phone with personal messaging saying, come on, Limpy, we're waiting on the next video. I'm tired, I'm waiting. They're anxious to hear another video from me, and I appreciate y'all giving me the cheer me up texts that you've given me. But this is what's going on with me right now, and I'm worried, man. I'm scared. I'm scared. That's all it boils down to, is I'm scared. It really makes me really scared of where my life is going to be going, or what path I'm going to have to take, or what step downs I'm going to have to take, or you know, or what's going to go on. I mean, I just don't know. The Noe's Customs, the guy was going to go over there and shoot footage for, man. He was doing that out of his backyard, man, and the city tells him that he can't have that many cars over at his place at the same time that aren't personal vehicles, and it's a residential area. So that shop that he built behind his house is not going to work. They're not going to let him do that. So now he has to go find a shop commercially somewhere, and he wants me to help him find a shop, and told me he wants me to help him shoot videos. Well, that's where I'm leaning towards the most, is probably shooting videos for him and helping him out with his channel. But as far as me making a living at YouTube, I'm gonna have to have at least 50,000 subscribers plus to make videos on YouTube and get those kind of views, and get at least 2,000 hits every time it airs, to make a decent living, to where I can just, and then I will be able to forget about disability and I won't have to worry about it. But until then, I'm gonna have to just stay on YouTube and not merchandise my channel. You know what I'm saying? I can't, because if I make 200, 300, 400, I don't know. I'll have to talk to the disability people. If they turn me down, I'm gonna have to go. I don't know what I'm gonna do if they turn me down, man. I'm gonna have to sit here and watch my wife struggle. It's like, it really sucks that a lot of these people out there that are really hurt, that are really having some issues, they just go by, well, normally in most circumstances that you should already be out there working, so no, we're not going to approve it, because your injuries medically, normally most of the time, you're already supposed to be out, be well and able to work. And when you don't have a doctor that communicates with you clearly and is not putting down the things in your records like exactly what you say and how you say it and what the problems are, if you're not in close communication with your doctor's visits and what they're writing down in your records, it could harm you along in the long run. Another thing, I talked to my lawyer, and I said, well, what is the procedures that, I mean, give me the rundown. How is this happening here? You know, because I got a doctor that so far has not been communicating with me too well. Sorry, I'm squirming around. I'm sweating like crazy, man, and it's itching. I'm starting to itch wherever my sweat's running down me. But anyway, and they told me that, well, okay, we collect doctor's records for the 2 years that you're going to your doctor's records. We collect the doctor's records and we put them on file. And I go, do you read the doctor's records? Do you go through them? They said no. I said, you're not even reading my doctor's records? You're not even reading the statements that the doctors are making and communicating with me closely to make sure that everything's working correctly? She says, no, we just wait till about, when they finally set your court date, it'll be about another 3 or 4 months. When they finally set your court date, it'll be about 3 months that we have to put together the case in. I'm saying, so you're waiting to the last minute to make sure that my doctor's records are coinciding with what I'm trying to tell the doctor, and am I supposed to be getting the right treatment that I'm getting, or any of those questions? Are the doctors, you know, it's just a paper trail, and they're going to wait till the last minute to go in there half cocked with, it's like, in other words, I'm not really putting down my lawyer, because I'm sure they have a way of doing things, and in this big city they got a lot of cases rolling through their office, so they don't have time to sit down there and read each statement every time a doctor's note comes in. They don't have time to sit there and read that every time it comes in. But you know, and that's probably why it takes so long for a lot of these people that are really honestly hurt, is because the city is so full. And that's probably another reason why people move out of a big city area. If they're really hurt and they needing help, man, they want to get the right help and move out of a big city area so they can go to a smaller town that has a doctor, to where they can communicate with their doctors, have plenty of time to communicate. They're not pressed for time. You know, that's why a lot of these people that I'm figuring out, they had to leave a big city. I've talked to a couple of people that said, yeah, we had to move out of Texas area to move into another state, and it's not because, you know, it's because everybody's full. They don't have time to tend to just you. They got a lot of other people out there that they're having to tend to as well, and dealing with all this crap that I'm going through, and everybody's always rush, and I don't even get but maybe 15 minutes to talk to that doctor. I gotta wait 3 months just to talk to a doctor for 15 minutes, and she's in a hurry already when she walks in the door because she's already behind most of the time. You know what I'm saying? And it's just all these things that I'm going through. It's just blowing my mind that I fear the worst. I fear I'm going to fall through the cracks, and then my wife's going to wind up, you know, my wife has back problems. They're not major back problems. They hurt. She hurts all the time. She's having to go. I was the one that always I manned up, man. Yeah, baby, my back's hurt, but I got a high tolerance for pain. I'll man up. You don't have to go back to work to bust your can. You don't have to do this. You're my baby girl. You stay home, take care of the babies. Daddy's gonna go out here. He's gonna hurt whether he's at home or he's gonna hurt whether he's at work. And I stood strong to that. But this is a whole different ordeal when you're dealing with a foot that you're having to put pressure on and you're having to walk on it. It just. The pain is a whole nother different area. I didn't have numbness in my back. I just had sore spots in my back. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have sharp pains every time I took a step. I had sharp pains whenever I would carry or lift something, you know? It wasn't one of them things where I could still walk around, and if I needed somebody to lift something for me, if I had my own company like I did, I would make my people that I hired to do all the heavy lifting or lift the heavy things or carry this or carry that or do that. And I would use my hands and sit down on my can up in the attic on top of a 5-gallon bucket and put that air conditioner unit together and shout at the people down here to, hey buddy, you know, I wasn't a butthole or nothing, but when I say shout, I'm saying, hey bud, you know, I need 14 on 2, you know what I'm saying? That means you need 14 inches, you need, you know, there's just certain phrases and stuff I would have to mumble out, and key phrases. That 14 on 2, it means I need a 14-inch, 2 foot of 14-inch pipe. That's what I meant. But anyway, I'm sorry I'm talking everybody's head off around here, but this is what I'm going through, and I've been here for 31 minutes. Can you believe that? This is all the things that I'm going through, and I'm worried. I really am. Anyway, I'll see y'all later, man, and God bless everybody out there, and don't ever give up, man. Don't give up. I'm not. But I'm just going through a lot right now. I'm not giving up, but I'm just scared right now, and that's my feelings that's been my feelings for all this time, and I haven't really gone into it specifically until it hit me like a ton of bricks when I went into that doctor's appointment, and I seen people out there that have the same surgery as me, and they're already getting better, or some of them even got staples still stuck in their legs, and they're ready to be eager to get out there and hit the world, hit the ground running again, and go back to their life as it was, and they're happy, they're just excited to get the staples out, so now they can start walking on it, and I'm like, whoa, simply amazing. Anyway, I'll see y'all later. Drop the phone. Limster out.